35, pretty generic, straight up question if you know how to graph systems of inequalities. So let's zoom in a little bit here. First thing you would want to do is get y by itself in the top function and the bottom function. This is going to help us graph. So getting y by itself up top, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides and then divide by 2. I ultimately get negative 3/2 x plus 7, because remember the 14 got divided by 2. I like to write down 4 things as my work. Slope, m, our y-intercept, 7. It's a solid line because of this symbol, because of the equal to part, and it's below. This is a less than or equal to sign, so we shade below. Now this line can be seen, if we zoom out a little bit, right here. Now it's hard to see all my lines now. And this is a solid line. So I plotted it, connected the solid line, and then shading wise, I just have lines coming out underneath. For the second function, I subtract 4x. Now it says negative y. When I divide out the negative there, I actually flip the sign. So the less than becomes greater than. That might be something that some people forgot about here. Once again, our 4 values, slope, y-intercept, type of line, and where to shade. This is a dotted line now. It says greater than, no equal to component. And we're going to shade above because it says greater than. Notice my dotted line. Graphing that, you can either do it with a pencil and erase or just simply pick your pencil up as you're graphing. Now the solution set, it didn't even say to do this, but most people do this out of instinct. We label with an S. It's where the shadings overlap. Some people also kind of just shade with a system of inequalities where the solution is. Notice I shaded everything, and then I put where the overlap was. You could do either. Doesn't really matter. It does matter that we label. Notice my 2 lines are labeled. Technically speaking, you only have to label 1 line, but it doesn't hurt to label both. And then we have a little follow-up on the bottom. Is 1, 2 in the solution set? Explain. So don't just say yes or no, explaining why. So let's plot it first. 1, 2 is right here. Oops, let's use a laser pointer right here. Is it in the solution set? So we say, no, it's not, as it does not satisfy one of the inequalities. You could say it's on a dotted line, it's not in the solution region, anything like that. There's usually a follow-up for systems, and it's usually, hey, is this a solution, and explain. So in this case, no, it's not, because this line that was on is dotted, meaning it didn't satisfy that 4x minus y is less than 2. It did satisfy the other inequality, but not both, which is how we define a solution to a system. All right, question 36. If you know how to use the calculator, this is an easy 4 points. So in this case, we're told math and English scores, and they wanted the linear regression equation. So this would be on your calculator utilizing L1 and L2. After you're done typing those in, we're going to hit Stat, Calc, Lin Reg. You have to scroll to the right for calc. Lin Reg is choice 4. Just be careful, it did say nearest hundredth. For such a question that's, on the easier side in the grand scheme of things, we don't want to make a rounding error. Hundredth is 2 decimal places. And we write down the equation that we get. Our R value should be provided with that calculation. Now, if you didn't get an R value, if you did this question and you're not seeing anything, what was the issue there? Diagnostics were not turned on. I'm just going to abbreviate diagnostics on. This should be the first thing you do when you get your calculator on the Regents Day. To turn diagnostics on, you could simply hit mode, and stat diagnostics should always be on. The calculators are usually reset on the Regents, so you might want to do that right away. Again, that being off actually doesn't display the R value that we're looking for. So what does 0.92 mean now that we got it? Once again, nearest hundredth, so you do have to round it. This is usually a crazy decimal. Now that we have 0.92, we could say it's a strong positive. Remember, strength is in relation to 1 or -1. The closer it is to either, the stronger. The closer it is to 0, kind of like the middle of the scale, the weaker it is. So obviously 0.92 is very strong. It's very close to 1. Now, this is where some people can lose 1 point here. It says explain in the context. So if I just say it's a strong positive, period, I lose a point. Why? Because I haven't talked about what this problem is even involving. What is 0.9? Okay, so it's strong. What does that mean? So if it's a strong positive relationship, that means that there's a strong connection between math and English. When someone does better on math, they traditionally do better on English. Not true for myself, but based on this table, there's a relationship there. So basically context is just refer to whatever the labels or values are talking about in the particular problem. Doesn't require that much other than you just describing what they are.